Welcome to our fourth and final digital safety event. Tonight we're going to be talking about how to lock down devices or filtering or all those types of topics. The more of a philosophical how to. So tonight we've got a couple of panelists. We're going to introduce ourselves and then we'll get started. So I'm Emily McClyman and I'm the children's librarian here.
I'm Matt Nelson. I'm the IT director for Waverly Shell Rock Schools.
And I'm Ryan Webster, and I'm a librarian here, and also a parent of a seventh grader. And
And Ryan really does a lot of our IT stuff. He doesn't admit it all the time, but he does do a lot. And I'm also a parent of a fourth and a fifth grader. So I'm gonna kind of let Ryan take our lead here, and he's gonna kind of go through some topics. But since we all are a smaller group, we can be more interactive. Okay, don't you can interrupt, you can ask things. We'll go that way.
all right, so what we're hoping to really focus on is talking about what is possible with your device. So we'll mention some specifics as well, but a lot of it we're going to be just talking about maybe what you don't know you don't know. What are some things that you can do that maybe you never even thought to ask if you could? How do you Google how to do something if you don't even realize it's a possibility or that you would want to? Um, so we're going to go just kind of device by device. I should have ordered these a little differently, but yeah, let's start with the one that I am least familiar with setting up parental controls. Although I'm familiar with the system in general, we're going to talk about Windows PCs. Either of you have much experience with? Yeah, sweet. Okay, fantastic. I have not myself set up the Microsoft Family Safety features, but there are guides online. But the things that you can do with it are you can set up screen time limits, which is a theme that you'll see across the board with these devices. A lot of times you can set up screen time and you can do it overall, and then usually also per app. Now with Windows, that might be limited to apps that are in Windows. Yeah, installed through their app store, I'm assuming. Yeah, as opposed to just downloading something and installing it. Now with Windows, of course, there probably definitely are ways to go further with that, but your mileage, may vary on that depending on your technical skills and patience. Sure. Off the top of my head, see, this is why I have the computer here. Yeah, she asked, what are some apps that a parent might want to limit or set those types of limits up for? Uh, can I pass this to you, Matt?
Yeah, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, like a lot of kids at school play games like Minecraft, and you could just limit that program on your home PC. The first thing I'll say right off the bat is, uh, the, what we see at school is no matter what we lock down, how we lock it down, the kids have all the time in the world to find every way around anything that we lock down. So even if it's if it's something on your home Windows PC and you lock down their Minecraft game to an hour a day, you still probably need to monitor what they're doing on the device because the chances are they'll figure out a way around that limitation.
Definitely. Yeah, I'll have some stories later. Another thing is if your child plays video games through Steam, which is a store. It's a storefront, but it's one that you install on your computer because it acts as it controls the license of the games. So you can get on Steam. There's literally hundreds of new games daily that exist that are published there. It's the major PC site or store platform that's used. And the couple thoughts I have with Steam are echoing Officer Gomez last week, for those who saw. He was talking about playing offline. So if you don't want your child playing a game online, there are plenty of Steam games that can be played offline. And depending on the device and how easy that is to block, it could get more complicated. The thing I would say you can Google is how to, if you're feeling, up to it, or you can, come ask me and I'll do my best. You can set up a Windows firewall to block internet access to a specific game. Otherwise, I would have to see what the Steam Families feature can do. Steam has a Steam Families feature where you can also limit playtime daily, like we were talking about with other things. So there's another way to control things that's outside of the Windows App Store, and something that beyond, like Minecraft. Minecraft's in the Windows App Store. Beyond that, games that may be popular in another platform. Let's see, other things, purchases and spending, which with a PC, you're going to have to, probably lock it down yourself. Don't keep things logged in. Don't leave credit cards saved in your browser, all of that. The family safety settings only work if you're blocking them from purchasing things in the Microsoft App Store, but doesn't help with the World Wide Web. And it looks like there's a few other things, but again, a lot of it's going to really tie back to that Microsoft. The Microsoft Family Safety features tie in with the Microsoft App Store and don't do as much for the computer broadly, but there are ways to do. See, Windows is still kind of the Wild West, I would say, which is a pro and a con. There's a lot of freedom in it for developers and for people who want it to be able to do what they need it to, but that makes it a lot harder to lock things down. For my family, we just have a password set. My daughter doesn't really have much access to the Windows PC, and she does, when she does need it or wants to use it, she does it with us. So that's I don't know if you have any more to add to Windows.
Yeah, like you said, it's definitely more wide open, harder to lock down. You probably need some third-party software to lock down Windows really well.
Yeah. So, getting the hard one out of the way. And let's move on to Macs. I don't know a whole lot about Macintosh. Do you want to talk about that, Em? I know you.
A little bit.
Okay. For Mac, I mean, luckily, I think, again, all Apple devices run somewhat and have a somewhat similar look and feel to them. So that makes it easier. And you can share, from your phone to your Mac and to your iPad and all around, right? So you can set up a thing called family sharing. And what that does is say this device, whether it's for your whole family or it's for your child or whoever it's for, you can set it appropriately, right? So if it's for your child, you can choose that in the family sharing that it's a child's device. And if it's not, you can kind of have more like accounts within it or whatever. So um in there in the settings, you can choose like app limits, the same for time, or you can even have like specific downtime, right? So it can't really be used from, I don't know, 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., right? Or they have to have a certain code from you to use it during that time or whatever. There's also, you can set for blocking certain content, although, again, that's all relative, right? And then you can restrict like in-app purchases, or what they can purchase in apps. And you can also manage a lot of like, again, your location sharing through all of that family sharing. Those are different settings that you can choose. And you can choose for the whole device, or you can choose for specific apps, or games or whatever you're, using on the device. You can alter it based on, so you can get down very narrow for certain things where you can do it for overall everything. Um, and with that screen time and everything, they have passcodes. So you, like on your phone, can have a passcode that then has to be put in order to set or change anything on those devices. And yeah, I don't know. Any other things you want me to touch on with that?
May as well, since you're saying it's pretty similar, may as well go into iPhone unless there was something you were about to add.
No, no, I was going to say the same thing. Might as well go right into iPhone.
Yeah, and really they're very similar. I mean, it's all in your settings, and it has similar, it's the same, it's all called the same things across all the devices, which is handy, right? I think just on your Mac, you choose it from a different place, right, than you would on your phone. It still looks the same. The settings app is still there, and it still looks the same. It just might be in a different location. So, yeah, I mean, I think once you do it on a device, it will feel more intuitive if you haven't already. But you can restrict, so say you've blocked like who they can have for contacts, right? And you only allow certain contacts. And then they have a new friend that they want to add. They can request from you to add a certain number, and it would go to your phone or your whatever device you want to hook it up to, that is yours. And you could put in to say yes or no to certain contacts. You can also say yes or no to certain apps. They want to download the new game that they want to play, they can request it to you, and you can say yes or no. And then once you say yes or no, say you say yes, then you can choose the settings for that app as well. Exactly. You could say this app I'm only allowing for 15 minutes a day or whatever. Or same for contacts. You can choose, is this someone they can only message? Is this someone they can call and message? Is this, I think you can even, don't quote me on this, but maybe even set like during certain times, or whatever too. So you can get pretty nitty gritty with it. But it also then helps avoid like spam, right? Or like you know, random numbers that you get text from. They don't get that, right? Because it's not one of the allowed contacts even and stuff, which is kind of a nice perk. Oh, yeah. So another thing you can do is set how far from your face the phone has to be. So like, for their studies about like if they hold it too close, right, it's not good for your, and so the phone will actually like pause, the screen will go and say you need to move it away from your face in order to keep using it or whatever. One of my daughters hates that part of it, but yeah, so that's another. I mean, there's just a lot of things you can customize through it that help make it healthier, right? Hopefully.
Awesome, awesome. Um, let's go from the Apple world to Google and let's talk about Chromebooks. Now, one thing I'll start with real quick is that in the Google world, there's the same kind of thing you're going to see a theme with um, already, and it'll continue, is with almost all of these, you're going to create a parent account and then create separate child accounts that you tie up to being under you. And let's start with Chromebooks. And do you mind if I?
It's fine. I was just going to say, actually, when I looked at that Google Family link, I've never seen it. We manage the Chromebooks. That's what all the students' devices are at Waverly Schools are Chromebooks. We manage them a completely different way than this. I've never actually set up a home device. Ours is different. That's I'll be interested.
Do you have anything to say about the children with Chromebooks at home?
Oh boy, that's a whole other discussion. I mean, they're filtered all the time. We have to filter. We filter at school. They're filtered at home. But like I was talking about earlier, if they dig hard enough, they'll find unblocked gaming websites and stuff like that, and then it shows up in a list, and we add it to our block list. But I mean, it's an everyday process. It's an ongoing thing. So if they spend enough time, they'll find some game site that is unblocked. So beyond that, everything is monitored. We have parents contact the district all the time. They want to know what their kids have done. We have a feature that through our filtering software where parents can get a report if they want a report emailed out to them, and it gives a breakdown of where the kids have gone, how long they've been on websites. Yeah, I think we maybe put out something when we first got the feature at school, but we maybe have never followed up with it. So it's just kind of as parents contact us and ask us. I don't think we've ever. We could maybe put that out on our website again or social media or something for. Maybe it's might be in the registration materials. I'll have to go back. I'll check that. It might. Yeah, sign 300 sheets of paper. Yes. Anyway, so the parents can get reports of what the kids are doing on that. But that's just the school device that we give them. That's got nothing to do if you've got a Chromebook at home. That's completely different, and that's under this Google Family stuff.
But if parents were curious about seeing what their kid was accessing,
Absolutely, they can. Yep, they can contact the school, and we can get them that report. Yep.
Does it tell like screen time and all that?
Yeah, it's got. I'm trying to remember what the parent side looks like. I haven't been on it for a while because it's sort of just an automated thing. An email goes out, but I think it shows what website and what amount of time they were on each website. So if they open up a Google document tab and they were on it for 45 minutes, hopefully, fingers crossed, that means they were typing a paper in class for 45 minutes. But if it's just the Chrome browser on some unblocked Minecraft games website for 3 hours, that's a problem. But yeah, it's a good report for parents that are interested in it. Yep. From the school side.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's right. So beyond that, for a personal device, and this is going to carry over a little bit with Android, because both Android phones and tablets and Chromebooks are all kind of related, similar to how we were talking about the Apple devices being related. And it starts with setting up the Google Family link and then setting up a new Gmail account for your child. And I'm going to tell you a really dumb thing. So dumb in my opinion. Some people will disagree with me, and that I respect that. One of the things that Google has determined is that if your child is 13, on their 13th birthday, they will get an email from Google that says, you are now old enough to make your own choices. And they may turn off the family link and turn off your control at that point. Now, if they do, it does alert you. So you at least will know that happened. But but it does fully give them that option. So when you're creating that child's account, there is nothing proving their age. So you may feel free to put whatever age you think is appropriate for it to eventually send them out the email saying that they will take control of their own account based on how many years it is until it would believe they were 13. Anyway, that's my little soapbox there. But beyond that, there's a lot. They've improved it drastically. So we did the Gab watch, and there's other watches out there too. There's other types of cell phones and watch phones, and they work great. Gab was kind of hit or miss, but it served its purpose. They usually are very limited. Some of them have more games, some have no games, and they don't let your child get online. They let you really lock down easily who can contact them, all of that. And at the time, I didn't realize how easy iPhones were to do all that with, like you're talking about. Well, fair. I guess let me rephrase that. That it has that much control. I don't mean to say it's easy, but it's actually possible. I didn't realize that all those options existed at the time, or I might have considered that. But Android at the time you couldn't, so we stuck with the watch until it eventually kind of gave out. And like Officer Gomez said, again, kind of that 12, 13 age is when the child will start expecting to evolve, use a real cell phone. So my daughter, again, she's in 7th grade. We just switched her to a real Android phone, and and we only did that because they've recently updated in the last year the family app, and you can now go in and limit just about everything. She has no games, she can't install things, she can request to install things, and then either my wife or I can approve it. It'll pop up on our same thing with, like you were saying, about adding contacts. And a lot of it is just going through step by step, reading every single option and choosing what makes the most sense to you. It's a grueling process, but it can be done, and then you set it and you forget it for the most part. Now, I don't know how much Apple does this, but Google is infamous for changing things all the time. They update, they change, they just so you have to go in and kind of re-look at it every once in a while because something will become available that you didn't realize was going to be available. The recent one in the last week is that, so another discussion, just a thing that if you care about it with any of these devices is access to AI. If you're, and for me, I'm so torn because I do want my daughter to learn how to work with AI and use it in a useful way. But I don't want her just relying on it for things, which I do think the school has done a good job of preventing. And B, I don't know what kind of conversations she would have if, left fully to her own devices, and what, it would teach her versus maybe what I would want to teach. Now, I do think she does a good job of talking to me and talking to her mother about things, so that's helpful. But I said all of that to say that Android recently, and Google in general, recently released a new feature where they're their AI's live talk, where it's almost like you're on a phone call with it. They've added that to the Google search. And so even though I have the Google search disabled, and even though I have the assistant disabled and the AI mode disabled, if you pull up Google, and that she figured this out, of course. Why was she going to the things that were disabled? I have no idea, but she found it, and went in and discovered that it's not blocked, and there is no way to block it right now. I'm sure that will change, but I just was fascinated by that. She had also discovered, I want to say this to anyone who tackles blocking everything on an Android device, the one extra thing is, even if you have it so that only whitelisted sites are available, still go in and specifically block google.com, which is bizarre, but the reason you have to do that, I don't know how she did this. She found that if you go to the help and then you click on this one part of it, and then from there you click on this link that shows up, that it pulls up Google, and then you can sit there and search and do things. I don't what possessed her to click through all of that. I will never know. But she came and told me immediately. She was like, "Hey, look, I figured out how to do this. Can you block it?" Sure. So I figured out how to block it by, again, my advice to you is just add google.com to that specific block list, even though it is supposedly blocking everything. And I feel like I am going on and on. Is there anything?
Just a perfect example. That's what at school. That's what this kind of stuff. The kids just figure this stuff out. They click on anything. They go everywhere, and they find the little holes around that. Exact same problem we have. The schools. We had to go into Google, and Google does change stuff constantly, mostly for the better, not always for the better. But we had to block something else to get that sidebar thing that came up. They could search it. We had to block that. We had to block that too on our Chromebook separately. So I think we were dealing that, and maybe this is a little bit off topic for this, but talking about AI. So what we're doing at school this is only on the school devices, of course, but the students' Chromebooks, the only AI, I won't say only because there's so many out there, but we've tried to block ones that are. We're trying to get the kids to use. It's called Gemini, and that's Google's AI. So we're trying to steer all the kids to using, because Gemini on our Chromebooks is a couple of things. One, it's filtered for K-12 education. So there's blocks in there already built in, so no questionable content or stuff should not be in there for students. You couldn't get into an inappropriate chat with an AI chatbot because it's set up for us. The other thing it does is it doesn't allow the data to be harvested by the LLMs. So if you have a kid puts in all their own personal, the way AI learns, large language models, so they go and suck up content everywhere. So like if you go to ChatGPT and you start asking it questions, it's learning based on the questions you're asking it, because it's recording your questions and your responses as it goes. The Gemini version on ours won't do that. Google's not recording what's being typed. Now, if you're on your home device and you go to Google Gemini and you start typing stuff in, Google's learning, but not through our stuff, because that's blocked for the K-12 side. It's for privacy stuff. There's a lot of reasons they do it. But the other thing we worry about is we don't want any student information getting out there in the world. So if you had a teacher who accidentally uploaded a sheet with all the students' names and maybe their phone numbers on it, if you did that on a personal device, Google's got all that information. Somebody knows all these names, it's got all these phone numbers, and that just information is available. So if a teacher accidentally did that on our devices, it doesn't get sucked up because it's marked as private. So it stays within our domain. Anyway, that's one of the things. There'll be something tomorrow we'll have to change, and we'll have to do again, and Google will change another setting, and it's never ending, but that's what we're trying to do.
Fantastic. No, I did not know all that. That's really good to know. Yeah, that's fantastic. I really like Gemini personally. I use an enterprise one as well. Let's see. Yeah, at this point, we probably have a couple more things here, but let's, do we have any questions for us at this time? Yeah, what do you got? Oh, cool. Absolutely, that is a doable thing. Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. That's true. All the computers say good night. Okay. Yeah.
So I know in iPhones and iPads, you can get even more specific, especially content. They do have like in your settings, you can choose for like podcasts or your music or whatever. They have options for if it's clean or if it's explicit or whatever. And so you can choose from a pull down menu of like what amount of, you want to allow, whatever. Also, like, can they even watch music videos or not? Can they, the TV shows, it gives like the ratings, like PG or TV PG and then PG 13. And so, like, any apps that have that, then it will do that. No, I think it's just the like apps that are come with the phone. I'm pretty sure. I think then within Netflix you can set your stuff or whatever, but the ones that come on it, like so, your um everything in iTunes, everything in like, that kind of stuff, so that are already come on the phone. So even if they're not downloading new stuff, you can still control the other. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then within each app, you have to go set all of that stuff. But all apps are rated like, so ages what, 7 and up or 9 and up, like they all have like an age rating, right? So if you download an app or they ask to download one, you can set in your settings like only apps for ages 9 and under or 13 and under or whatever it is you want, then you can choose the age range for apps that are built for that. So that's more of a universal thing in the app world. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think what other settings that people might not know about.
Well, in Android, you can really get. I haven't played with the age limits if it has anything like that, but we do. Since it's a phone, we don't have it doing anything. She can't watch shows. She can't get on YouTube. She can't pull up the web anymore after we fix that one problem. She can't. She can't do really anything that isn't just happening on it. The one thing we do have is we have location turned on, because then I can hit a button and it'll show me where the phone is at any time. And most devices like the Gab watches or the other watches from other companies will do that as well. That's a great clarification. That one is only parents. It is not like a social type of thing. It only allows the who you have designated as a parent. So either my wife or I can get on there and see where that phone is at any given time, as long as the phone is on. If the phone is off, obviously, then that's different. I can't do anything to make it turn on. Let's
I know on the iPhone, you can get down, like, say you want to limit like screen time for a specific day or a specific app. You can go in and set it, like, say next week, you want to set your schedule for them of like, on Tuesday they're allowed an hour and a half, but on Wednesday they're only going to be allowed like 30 minutes or whatever. I don't know. Like you can get very customized in how much and what that's for and whatever even on there, I know. So I don't know. Again, it all takes time, right? And stuff, but you could if you wanted. Um so I think that then lends to maybe a discussion of, so you've locked it down, right? And then how do you start like stepping those things back, or how do kids prove, right, that they're ready for you to step those things backward, or earn those privileges, right? Or that they're, they can handle it or whatever. And I don't know that I have a lot of advice on that necessarily, but I think it's very individual for different kids and different families and everything. But I do think it's worth thinking about for yourself. And you're spending all the time learning how to do this, but when do you start, gradually? Because right when they hit whatever age and they're going to be, out on their own, you don't want to just go straight from lockdown everything to having it, free for all, right? So I think, having a plan is really important, and having the discussions of, when you do start walking back on your restrictions, and talking about that, and I don't know if you have any thoughts or
Yeah, just thinking about that, opening up like you were talking about earlier. At 13, Google sent you an email saying, "Yeah, you're good to go." And I think we all would agree as parents that not every kid is in the same place when they turn 13. And what Google thinks is okay for my 13-year-old to watch and what I think might be okay for my 13-year-old to watch are probably far different things.
Agreed. And yeah, that is a hard one. And I think one thing that's interesting is I recently had turned off the time limit on just the iPad because we'd had that. To be honest, I set it up so many years ago that I just had not wanted to go in and relearn how to change the settings. So I had just left it at what it was since she was, 7 when we let her start doing that. And so I lifted that with the intent of going back and like adding it again. It was, I forget what it was that something came up that where we just needed it to just work without having to think about how much time. And but it was funny because she her own self the other day looked at how much time she had watched shows on Saturday and came over and was like, "I watched this much TV today." She's like, "Can you put the restriction back on?" And which I think is interesting because I know several adults that also have their own screen time limits set up. So I think that there's a wisdom in that it's not necessarily a you're not allowed to do this and I'm controlling you, but there's a point of like of as the child grows older to ask like, what restrictions do you want set up on here? And then they can come and ask if there's something, some reason they want more, and you're going to, enable it or teach them how to block that themselves. But I could see that being kind of a next stage for my daughter, is just self-regulating. Yeah, especially as she starts to have some more self-awareness of how she wants to be spending her time and what she wants out of life. But is she ready to just be thrown into the whole internet, the entire internet by herself? No, not at all. Not in my opinion. Nothing against her, but not there yet. Something I did want to touch on too really quick is in case you don't know it, you can also do a lot of this with popular game consoles. So it's again very similar to to everything we've talked about. Nintendo, PlayStation, or Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, the Xbox, they all have parent apps that you install on your phone, and then you can set up and control, again, screen time, online play, content restrictions, and how late at night, like when does it turn off. So that's another thing to look into if you weren't aware that you can do all of that. I will warn you, something I know about the PlayStation. I don't know about the other consoles, but PlayStation specifically, the PS5, if you have it all completely locked down, you have it so there's, I don't know, if you do like no M-rated games, or if you did, no online play or no play after 9 p.m. or whatever you do, if they go in and do a factory reset on the device, then all the settings go away. And it doesn't require a password to do a factory reset. So that's interesting. I imagine that would also kind of mess up their accounts and their games and stuff, so maybe they wouldn't, but I don't know. Actually, we haven't had it happen yet, but Trevor was warning me that was a thing and that could come up.
Just the same theme once again. The kids will spend the time to figure out where the loopholes are. Yeah. I don't the game consoles. My kids have got them, but I don't think we used to have it set up on their Xbox. It was a hassle as a parent. It's a hassle because certain things would get locked out in a game that they couldn't get to, but you wanted to let them get to part of it, but not all of it. So it takes time with it for sure to get set up and to keep setting up, because it keeps changing.
Any good school stories that are super popular to try and do workarounds? Yeah. Right.
The websites are nonstop. Like I said, the kids find new websites every day. It's because people make them, and they're very easy to make these days. So they just link a whole bunch of games, and yeah, the gaming is the most popular thing that we have happen. Yep, for sure. Yep, they just find a website of unblocked games and then go and play 50 different games, and until a teacher sees them on it, and then they tell us, or we see it in a report, and we're like, okay, we blocked that one, but tomorrow they'll find another site that's because they pop up so fast. So, yeah, we're probably switching our filtering software next year to a different company that we hope is supposed to do a better job of that. So, we're trying to improve always.
Have you ever, the schools are the leader in me things. Have you ever thought about having a leader in me team of like try and get around this stuff and find it, and like they help you find it, and then they report, like they are the ones that then feed it to you. You know what I'm saying? Like you should do that. That would be amazing.
It is. There are some kids who they'll self-report, like your daughter. Like, oh, I can't believe I watched this much TV. We do have students that come in and say, hey, I found another game site. You guys should be aware of this. Yeah.
I think some kids would love that.
They do. Yeah. My daughter would do that. There you go. Well, recruiter.
That's right. That's fun. Yeah, and again, like we've said, echoing again, it takes a lot of time, but luckily, the hardest work is when you first sit down and set it all up. You do have to keep coming back to it, so it's not entirely set and forget, but the hardest bit is sitting down, going through all the settings, setting everything up, and then for the most part, you don't have to do a whole awful lot after that, as long as you kind of check on it every once in a while. And with the theme of all of these is the more you can have that open conversation with your children, keep that line of communication. You can, they can bring up anything to you. They can, without judgment, just kind of ask things and, educate and talk things through, is the number one thing that's going to protect our children. Do you have any other closing?
Just thinking about, be willing to have the conversation and also just pay, it doesn't take very many clicks to get off in a place where on the internet where you don't want to be. You certainly don't want your kids to be. It's unfortunately easier done. It's just easy to do. So we certainly have plenty of those times at schools where we have kids somewhere and we see something got blocked, and you can just trace back. We can look at their history and they go, oh yeah, they clicked here, and then they ended up on a blocked website. Not intentionally. So unintentionally, you can get places easily. So you got to watch it multiple ways.
So, I guess I want to ask any more questions or top things you want to cover. Yeah, Elaine. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to repeat it for our recording here. Just a minute. So she said she wasn't aware quite what blocking meant and that you could do so much. And so she's wondering how prevalent is it for parents, and are they taking advantage of it? I don't know totally. I think all families are different, right? And some are not doing it because it's not super convenient, right? It's not very it's intimidating, and it does take a lot of time and thought and effort, right? But and some are, yeah, anyone could do it for sure. But I do think it's becoming more prevalent because there's more conversation around it, and more conversations like this series, right? It's obviously a topic that's growing in discussions in communities. So how do parents find out? Yeah, so a lot of it is self-discovery.
Yeah, we don't do anything specific at school about it because we're doing the blocking on the student devices. Right, right. So we don't get into anything with parents individually, or even as an education thing. We haven't done anything. Maybe there's some possibility there for the school district to do something like that, like what we're doing tonight. I have no idea how many parents are doing it. Honestly, I don't know. My kids are older, and there was certainly a lot less of that available when my kids were growing up with that. So there's just a lot more options now.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. It's not something that comes up in conversation a whole lot with other parents. Maybe starting to, yeah. I know I had talked about it with you when we were looking into things for Avern, but yeah. Any other questions? That was a good question. Okay. Yeah, if anyone listening at home, if you have questions, if you think, first of all, if you think something might be possible, if you look it up online, you'll probably find ways to do it. But if you're having trouble, definitely stop by and talk to us, and we'll see what we know, see what we can find out. And if you're just not even sure what to ask, what to even look up, then yeah, hopefully this opened your eyes to some of those possibilities. But again, feel free to come have a conversation with us. Oh yeah, and at the school, absolutely. Reach out to Matt Nelson.
We've helped parents. We've helped parents before with that have come in and had questions.
Yeah,
It's not something we do on a large scale, but certainly if somebody came up and had a question, we'd be willing to help them.
school related things specifically. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you all for coming and being here tonight. And thanks for those who are listening to this after the fact. And yeah, this has been such a fun series to do and such a great topic to dig into deeper. All right. Thank you very much.